experience. Semester at Sea is a program through the ISE, which is the International Shipboard Education, Institute for Shipboard Education, and it's academically accredited through the University of Virginia. And on this trip, we visited 5 countries. The first country was Peru. My favorite story from Peru was, I think, the first day when I went to Lima and Miraflores. And I went with a random group. I never met about 11 out of 15 of them before. Like, even though it's a small ship, I didn't have the opportunity to conversate with them, but we ended up smushing in a van that, like, only fit 12 people, but the 15 of us found a way to fit, and, like, we were all squished in this van, and the cab driver, like, the van driver, kind of showed us showed us around the whole day, and kind of like showed us things that we wouldn't have saw if we didn't have him as a cab driver. And I think my favorite part of that day was when we went to Miraflores. We went to a ceviche restaurant, and this was a local restaurant. This wasn't like a tourist like restaurant. It was where the locals eat. And ceviche is raw fish, for those of you who don't know that. They don't tell you what ceviche is when they tell you to get ceviche, but it's raw fish, and yeah, it's good, and I don't like raw fish. Like, I was like, ew. Like, but I think that I remember this one kid who was sitting at the head of the table, and he just took a deep breath, and it got silent, and he's like, you know, right now I'm happy. And I don't know, that was kind of like a deep moment for me. It was one of my favorite sayings.
So my first day in Peru, well, since it was our first port, you kind of get off the ship and you're like, you have no idea what to expect. And this particular port happened to be a trading port, so there weren't a lot of people around. It wasn't like touristy or anything. So you get on the bus, and my day consisted of going to an orphanage. And we get to the orphanage, and it was a very nice orphanage in like a very disheveled area. Why are you like smirking? And we first got to start the day off by going to the daycare, and the daycare had white walls. There were no decorations, there were no toys or anything in the daycare. So we repainted the room to orange with yellow accents and added decorations all over the walls. And we put toys and games and mats all over so the kids could enjoy it. And then afterwards, we got separated into groups, and we got to go to different orphan homes. And the orphan home that I went to, well, this was my orphan family that I liked, and they actually switched the moms every week. And we were talking to the older girl she was 15, and we're like, do you have American visitors a lot? And she said, yeah. And we're like, and they don't intrude? And she said, no, we love having visitors. And they made us like this big, nice meal. And it was really nice, so that's my favorite part of Peru.
Our next port was Ecuador. In Ecuador, I went to Monte Cristi on the first day with another big random group. And this is one of the kids, like, he kind of found us really quickly, and he was very, like, just interested in us. And he actually, like, there was a car coming, and he, like, stops the car, like a little traffic director, and, like, was telling us all to go, and the whole time, like, he followed us around, and, like, he answered any questions we wanted. And he also, like, he spoke English, too, so he could talk to us, but we also had people speaking Spanish to him. And the next time we went to Monte Cristi was actually Allie's birthday, and we had another, like, experience where Carlos was, like, the guy we were with, Carlos, was bargaining with everyone. And he's like, $10. Like, I'm not paying you more than $10 to go to Monte Cristi and back. And, like, you have to stay with us. And everyone's like, no, like, that's a ripoff. It should be, like, $10 each way. And Carlos was like, nope, I'm paying you $10. And he was so determined, like, he left the gates, and we were told not to leave the gates. Like, and we found this cab driver who's like, yeah, I'll do it for $10. Like, you're fine. And we ended up going to Monte Cristi, and he stayed with, like, Carlos while me and Allie and another girl were shopping around and just looking at stuff, but we ended up giving him $40, so all that bargaining didn't really work out. But
because the taxi driver kind of just watched over us all day, making sure we were safe. Nicole and I, along with a few other semester at Sears, we did a independent trip to Isla de la Plata, And it's called the Poor Man's Galapagos, even though the tour guides don't really like to refer to it as that. And it was a 2-hour bus drive from the ship, and then it was an hour boat ride to the island. And when we went there, we went hiking, and we got to see like such a great view. And then we got to see the blue-footed boobies, which is not something that a lot of people get to see. So that was really cool, and then afterwards we got to go snorkeling, and I had never been snorkeling before, even though I was raised in Florida. And we saw starfish and blowfish and all kinds of things. And then we were back on our journey back to the ship. So that day was really fun, and it was really exciting.
They look beautiful,
Yeah. We have a little example.
Oh my God.
Do you know why they have blue feet?
Yeah. They also have red-footed boobies.
Yes.
But there's no purple-footed boobies. You can't like cross-pollinate.
Did you try?
Well, we were told. We didn't know.
And then we went to Panama, our 3rd day, and we were only there for 2 days, but Nicole and I we went on separate trips, but we both went to the Embrara Indian village. And you start off by going in a little canoe. So this is Nicole and another girl in the canoe with the life jackets. And you go over there, and then they're like doing some dances for us. They have all their stuff set up, so like you can buy stuff like this that they hand make. And they were dancing, and then they fed us lunch, and it was like fish from the river, and that they had actually caught and cooked for you, and it was like really bony, and then they had plantains and all kinds of other fruits, and then you take the canoe back onto the bus. But it was really cool to see the village and their like way of life and how they interacted with the children and stuff like that. And there was actually one boy who spoke English, but he went to college, but when he went to his village, he was back into his, like he dressed like us and stuff, but when he was in his village, he dressed like he would belong to the village. So.
And after Panama, we got to go through the Panama Canal. Only 1% of the world's population gets to go through the Panama Canal. And it's one of the more fascinating engineering feats. It was built a little over 100 years ago, and the United States owned it for about 90 years, but it was causing, and originally they were supposed to own it forever, but this was causing a lot of problems in Panama. The Panamanians didn't like the Americans just interfering because the American territory was, like they would have soldiers walking around, American soldiers walking around on Panamanian soil, and it caused a lot of problems because it was like the Americans were controlling their land. And, but it's a series of natural locks. There are, I want to say 3 locks, 3 or 5. There's a few locks.
It's 5.
5. You're actually going up like a mountain and down a mountain. And it's 50 miles long. And it took us about 8 hours to go through, but how it works is like, if you see here, like this is one of the locks, so what you're going to do is you're going to, the boat's going to go into this area, and then the water is going to fill, and this allows the boat to rise, and you kind of keep doing it until you're able to get over the mountain. So instead of like completely cutting out the mountain, they kind of worked with the mountain. And it's a lot more energy efficient. Okay. Our next port was Costa Rica. This is where I had my field lab for my economic development class. We went to Tortuguera, which is a national park in Costa Rica. We got to do like a boat ride, and we actually had this tour guide who could make any animal sound out there. Like, and he like, it could be completely silent, and he'd be like, "You guys hear that? Howler monkeys." And we were like, "No, like we didn't hear that." And he'd like he's like, "Hold on," like, and he'll like repeat the call, and he could get, I guess, like instigate them to make noise, and it was really funny. But it was actually, we specifically went to Tortuguera because one of the main questions in our class was how can economies that are not developed, countries like Costa Rica that aren't fully developed, how can they afford to spend money on natural resources? And one of the ways Costa Rica can afford to spend money on natural resources is that they use this as a tourism. Like people pay to enter the park, and they also have NGOs, which are non-government official aid organizations, and they help support the park because the ecosystem is very important.
So my favorite part of Costa Rica was zip lining. I had had the opportunity to go zip lining before, but I always chickened out. So this time, I bought my ticket and I was like, I'm going. And I get there and I'm like freaking out, and you see like the wildlife all over. There were a lot of spiders and stuff. And I was like, you know what? So I was like staying all the way to the back. There were about probably 150 of us. And I stayed all the way to the back. I was the third to last person to go. And I stepped up and pulled myself up, and I went. And once you go, you're stuck. Like the only way to get to the other end is to go through all 12 zip lines. So it was really cool. Like we went over rivers, and there were like, and they ranged from like heights and lengths and stuff. But it was really cool. And if you ever get the chance to go zip lining, I would go.
And you can also go ziplining in Belize. As you can see, we did that on the second day, but on the first day I went snorkeling, and Belize has the second biggest reef in the world, the biggest being the Great Barrier Reef, and it was so awesome to just get to snorkel because like the water is crystal clear and you can see like the sand and all of the like little creatures kind of going in and out of the reef, and it was a lot of fun, and I really love snorkeling, so it was great.
When we were in Belize, we were only there for about a day and a half, so time was kind of crunching. But first day I had my field lab, but I'm going to talk about that later. And then we went cave tubing on the second day, and this is something that you need to do. This is like what you need to do when you go to Belize. And it consisted of hiking. So we were hiking through rivers, literally through rivers, with our tubes and our helmets to get to the starting point of cave tubing. And then you have to hold on to each other's feet to start the cave tubing. I don't know what the purpose was, but it's kind of like a trust thing.
It's so you don't drift away.
Yeah, so you don't drift away in the beginning. And because there's certain parts where it like kind of goes in.
And you're also being pulled by
the tour guide.
So you have to all stay together because he can't pull you all individually.
And so we're like, and then there comes a point when you can drift away from the group. I stuck with some people, but Nicole's over there like drifting off on her own, doing her own little thing. But I remember the tour guide looked at us and he's like, when was the last time you did something for the first time? And that kind of like just took a reflection, because since it was our last port, it kind of just took a reflection on the whole entire journey that we had just had. So it was cool.
Life on the ship, they always, I mean, obviously you are there to go to school and you are there to travel the world, but they do try to accommodate you on ship. They do try to make it a very like homey experience, and they have games, and they always have like something going on. Like here, this was like a game night. They had like 5 different activities, and one of them was games, and we picked Twister because boss at Twister. But like they also had like different competitions. Like we were given like a cup and straws and stuff, and we had to see like who could build the highest like tower out of just like 12 straws and a pipe cleaner and a cup and some tape. And
we had to balance a marble on top.
Yeah, you had to balance a marble on top too. And we didn't build the highest, but like there's engineering majors on there, and everyone was coming up to us and they're like, are you an engineering major? And we're like, no, like we're just like business education, we're not engineering. They're all like fascinated by the fact that a non-engineering major was
they're taking pictures of us, like.
Yeah, it was intense.
And then we have like, even though it's not a cruise ship, but we had like a captain's dinner, and it was captain's dinner / alumni ball. There were 2 different names. And this is some of us with lifelong learners, and then this is Carlos, the one we hung out with in Ecuador. And it's just a fun night to get together, dress up, have a good meal, and dance. And then we also have Neptune night, which is right here.
Neptune, it's normally Neptune Day. It is a ceremony that dates back to the Navy, where it was believed that once you cross the equator, if you don't do this ceremony, it's bad luck the next time you cross the equator. So in order to prevent like the bad luck, you do the ceremony, and in the Navy it's kind of like a hazing ritual. Like they kind of like beat you up and throw you in the water and like throw fish guts on you. But here obviously it was a lot more like PG, and they poured fish guts, but it was Kool-Aid, and you jumped in a pool, and then you kissed a fish, and then the Neptune's ring, and they gave you a certificate. So. Yeah.
And the life on ship, like the community you have it's really different than any other learning experience you have, because this is us with one of the crew members, and like they really truly watch out for you. Like when you go to these ports, they're constantly like keeping an eye on you. They treat you like your own that you're their own children. Same with like the lifelong learners. I went to my professor's room like just to like have questions about homework. You knock on your professor's door, stuff like that. And it really is a closeness, and we still like keep in contact with the lifelong learners and the people that we met on the ship. So.
Okay. This is our seminar class. It's obviously a much bigger class than we are used to at St. Leo. It is everyone. For the short-term voyage, it was everyone on the ship because there's a maximum at 374. But we had 256 students in our class, so it was an hour long every day. It was just a one-credit class, and it was just kind of to make sure you're not going into these countries without knowing anything. It was background on the country, it's background on the area. They also told you like what food you should try, and like he's the guy that told us we should eat ceviche, but didn't tell us what it was. And it was just kind of like, and it's also we also focus on like how you can help people, like how you can help the world. And it wasn't just the problems that there are, but the solutions. Like we learned about the Millennium Development Goals, which are 8 goals put in by the United Nations to help relieve world poverty, because 3.5 billion people are living under $2 a day, and that's not $2 American money there that can buy them like food for a month. It's like if you had $2 here, you could buy half a sandwich for a day. Like that's what you're eating all day. Like you're not eating sufficiently, you're not surviving. And it was just like we also had to make a plan on pick a millennium goal and make a plan on how we could fix it. Okay, and as well as the 1-hour class, we also each got to pick like an elective class. This was our 3-hour class. Mine was Poverty and Economic Development. I took it with Gail Allard. This is my class. We actually got to, we had class during the Panama Canal, and we're like, no, it was going on all day, but we were going through one of the locks, so we stopped class and got to go look at the locks, and it took an hour out of class, and my teacher was like, I mean, you're not going to see it again, so why would I stop you? And this was the project we had to do. We each had to pick a country in groups of 3 or 4 and establish how developed or not developed that we think this country is based on our visit, based on information.
And that's our ship.
Yeah, and that's our ship. No, is that our ship? Okay. And the first day we learned about Sen's 5 freedoms, and these are the things that he believes that a country needs in order to be developed. So it was political liberties, economic opportunity, transparency guarantees, which is also kind of with government, like you have to be able to know what's going on and what they're doing, social opportunities and protective security. And on the first day we had to rank each one of these freedoms, and we made them all equal, and we made like a development indicator. So we would pick we would pick like a piece of data for each one, like we picked voice and accountability, and we would add up the number and divide it by 5 and see which one was the most developed. And Ecuador, which is the country we did, ended up being the most developed. This is actually fairly accurate. The only difference is Panama is considered a developed nation, while Costa Rica is not fully developed yet. So Costa Rica and Panama would be switched. And we also did for the MDG, the Millennium Development Goal report for Ecuador, and they were slow in eliminating extreme poverty and hunger and achieving universal primary education. They're fastly approaching accomplishing promoting gender equality and empowering women and reducing child mortality and improving maternal health. and they're really slow, almost stopped at achieving combating HIV, malaria, and other diseases, and ensuring environmental sustainability. The last goal is goal 8, which it doesn't have to do with an individual country, and it's establishing a global partnership. So that's why it's not on here for Ecuador, because you can't measure it. Okay, and for quality of life, which was one of Sun's freedoms, the life expectancy was 75 years, hospital beds per 1,000 people was 2, which is really low. Like in the US, it's about 100. Like 2 per hospital bed. If you need to go to the hospital, you're probably not getting treated. The primary education rate is 106%. This is because it's the number of people in school divided by the number of people that should be, that are in the age to be in school. That's why it's above 100%, because it's people that are older, that are in like elementary school that shouldn't be there are counted into this rate. And unemployment is 6.1%. For governments, they are the 127th least corrupt in the world. That puts them at the bottom 50% for government, like as far as corruptness, well, most corrupt. And voice and accountability is 0, so that means the people have no voice and the government has no accountability for their actions. Like the government doesn't care what they do because the people aren't going to speak up for them. I mean, their voice doesn't matter. And this can cause a bad governance trap. Evidence for that is that they currently receive no FDI, which is federal direct investment or aid, as a percentage of GDP. A reason that they probably don't receive FDI is because their government is corrupt. Businesses like Coca-Cola or McDonald's don't want to go into Ecuador if they think the government's not going to protect them. And that hurts the economy because McDonald's and Coke can bring a lot of benefits to the economy because it gives the people work and it keeps money flowing through the economy. And their ease of doing business was ranked 131. 1 obviously would be the best, and this is ranked per country. And that's not good either. That affects their trade and how people want to do business with them. For solutions, if they clean up their government, they can help their economy. It's needed because of the presence of natural resources, and you'll see like natural resources are a huge part of their economy, and increase the level of voice. This is one of the hardest problems to fix because we, as Americans, we can't go in there and be like, you have a bad government, fix it. Like, we can't go in there and make them a democracy. We have to make the people want a democracy, and we have to make the government want to step down. And that's really hard to do from the outside, and it has to be like a revolution from the inside. For economic activity, trade is 72% of GDP, and that is an extremely high percentage, and it's really not good. If you look at the US, it's more focused on service and other parts that add up to GDP, so 72% being just tangible goods is extremely high. They import industrial materials, fuels, and consumer goods. They export petroleum, bananas, and coca. They actually do have a trade deficit, which is very unusual for companies that export oil, but we think it has to do with the fact that they export petroleum, but they still have to import refined fuels because they can't refine it themselves. And oil rents are 20% of GDP. Rents actually hurt the economy because it's money that you make for being unproductive. So instead of people going and making an invention to make money, they're going to go to oil because they know they can just make just as much money without doing anything. And it deters the people, and it also deters the government because why does the government care about the people when they're making all this money from oil? They're not making money from taxes. And this also causes the natural resource trap. The problems from the trap are economic dependency. Economic dependency isn't a problem until the natural resource is completely gone. Obviously, like, it's okay that they're making money now, but once that resource is gone, what are you going to do? It's also rents. like I said before, it's just money that's unproductive, that's made, money that's made from being unproductive. And then Dutch disease, which this has to do with inflation and hyperinflation. When an economy is so dependent on their natural resources, the currency goes up and down with the demand for that natural resource. And that affects the people because bread is $1 one day and then it's $5 the next. And how can you survive and how can you budget when your economy is not stable, when the price of everything keeps going up and down? And it also, like, if there's a large supply for your demand for your oil, people buy it, and the price of your currency is going up, it's not going to be as cheap as it was, and people aren't going to buy it and as much because your currency is worth more compared to theirs, and it costs them more to buy the oil. And that was Dutch disease. The solution for Ecuador was that they, in 2000, they had a period of hyperinflation, and they actually their currency is now the American dollar. The American dollar is much more consistent because there's much more of it, and it flows in and out much more steadily than it would have if it was just Ecuadorian money, and that helped fix the problem with inflation, but it still causes problems with political government. And another solution for rent was having a savings account for the money from oil or rents and redistributing it back into the economy. This is saying, like, the extra money that you're making from not being productive, putting it into a savings account and kind of bringing it back. That prevents the government from taking it and being corrupt because they have that money. And it also allows, like, if something happens, if they need a bridge built or something, they need something that will help the economy. They have that money and they have those resources to help build the economy up.
Oh, so I took a psychology of children and youth in Latin America course, and my professor was Dr. Cook. She was retired from the University of Colorado, and we actually had the biggest class on the ship. And basically we analyzed and observed the children and families in each of the countries. So each time we got back from a specific port, when we met as a class, we would talk about what we saw and how parents interacted with their children. Because, like, for Peru, for example, like, I went to the orphanage and other people went to Machu Picchu. Like, so we got to really compare on the different levels of how children and youth interacted in the countries. And then we would read articles and in the storybooks, like, different ways that children and youth are raised and about the drugs and violence in these countries. And then our field lab, we worked a lot on our field lab, and it was actually working with the Rotary Club in Belize, and we put the $100 solution to work. And we worked side by side with another class, and they were a service learning class, and they also did the $100 solution. I'll tell you what the $100 solution is next, but it basically works on reciprocity, partnership, capacity building, sustainability, and reflection. So
the common understanding is.
Go explain it.
Okay. Well, I was just going to open it. This is Dr. Bernie Strunecki, and he is he's the founder of the $100 solution. He's a Rotarian, and he's the class that we work side by side. So he had a field lab in Belize as well, and I had a field lab in Belize, but this video concentrates on his field lab in Belize, but it just basically tells you what the $100 solution is and what they were going to work at.
Because of our history, that if you have a problem, let's spend a lot of money, millions of dollars. What could you do with $100?
Gale Point is in Belize. It is on a skinny little peninsula into the southern lagoon. It's one of the most remote villages in Belize. We got to go and use $100 to jumpstart a program of their choosing in order to benefit the community and enhance their quality of life.
We had ideas that we came into the village with, but we weren't sure because it is based all upon what they want and what they need. how do we approach people? How do we talk to them about this? What are the main issues that people here face? The unemployment rate is apparently 90%. One of their main ways of income is through crafts. So that was one of our main focuses, was just to see what kind of crafts they had to offer. And after seeing the crafts, we realized that these are great. We talked to people and asked them, you know, why don't they sell them? And it said, you know, tourism. We don't have enough here. People aren't coming here.
So I was working on trying to get the crafts out of the village and take them into the States to be sold to try and generate revenue for the village.
With our $100, my team decided to use that money that would go towards buying more crafts that will be sold out of Western Kentucky University.
If you can make a difference to one community with $100, then over time you can make big differences to bigger things.
And I truly believe that people do not want something for nothing. They don't want a handout, they want a hand. And a part of the role of the $100 solution and the role of Semester at Sea is to provide this community with a hand.
This project has definitely changed the way I look at the world, look at my place in the world, and what I'm capable of.
You know, I look forward to keeping these relationships alive and playing a part in how these people's lives turn out. It's been an incredible experience to, a very special experience to get to be a part of it, and I want to do that.
Wait, what's the button?
Okay, so I really loved my class, but my professor chose me and 3 other students to lead the project, and so we basically woke up that morning and we had to tender when we were in Belize because of the reefs, so we had to like wake up extra early, and we had to gather everybody, and then the ship got there late, so we were already like crunched for time, and then we had to make sure, basically what, I don't know if you guys know what tendering is, but another boat has to come and get you.
A smaller boat.
Yeah, a smaller boat has to come and get you, and it's like very rocky, so like if the seas are rough, like they won't let you get on the tender. But so we started that morning off, and we found our bus and found our tour guide, and we went to the Port Loyola Library. And there we met Salvador, and he was at the time he was the vice president-elect of the Rotary Club, but now he's the president. And this library is located in the south side of Belize. And the south side of Belize is, like, all of Belize is not very safe, but the south side is the worst side to be in. They have the Bloods and the Crips there, they have drugs, they have violence. And the Rotary Club, their goal with this library was to make sure the kids had a place where they felt safe, where they knew they could have an outlook to go hang out with their friends, to gain an education. But they only had so many resources to help them. So instead of the $100 solution, my class did the $200 solution. And the library, we started the morning off by cataloging books. And we got to see like some of the books they had received, and they actually received books from the Everglades. But these books were like so outdated. They were on history that didn't even relate to Belize, history they didn't care about. It was just topics that were not at all relatable. It was literally people's old junk books. So after we went to the Port Loyola Library, went over to the Leo Bradley Library, which was on the north side of Belize, and we got to get a tour of that library. And it was about 3 times bigger than the Port Loyola Library, and they had a lot more resources. So we went back to the Port Loyola Library, and we got to meet with the youth. And the youth were very hesitant. They were like, why do these Americans want to talk to me? It was their last day of classes that day, so the last thing they wanted to be was be at the library. But we made it fun. We made up a little chant to kind of get to know them, and we were like, it was kind of like, my friend is so-and-so, and she likes movies and stuff like that, and we kind of introduced our new friend to the rest of the class. And so by then they were kind of like opening up, they were giggling. And then we broke into groups and we got to talk to them. And we said, you know, do you like coming to the library? Yes, yes I do. Do you come to the library often? No. Well, why not? There's nothing for me here. That's what we got a lot. There's nothing for me here. And you look around and you do. You see there's a lot for the younger kids. For the toddlers, there's a lot for the adults, but there's nothing for the youth. So we kind of talked to them more. And I said, well, if you could have anything in the library, what would you have? We want more books. Which kind of surprised me because I expected they wanted wireless internet or they wanted some electronics, but they wanted more books because they didn't have Harry Potter, they didn't have the Hunger Games, they didn't have Twilight, they didn't have any of that. So we decided. So that evening we came back to the ship and we actually brought Salvador and Marcelo, which is another guy from the Rotary. We brought them back to the ship and we gave them a tour of the ship and we sat down and had dinner and we said, you know, what is your vision for the library? And we told them what our vision for the library was. So with the $200, we gave them a list and we said, you know, the youth want more books. So they got them more books, and then there's more games for the children. They're going to do magazine subscriptions, like Sports 17 magazine for the youth. They're going to have an area designated for the youth, so they're going to have like wall decorations and just bean bags. And then we decided that it would be good to create a board of youth, children and adults, to create future plans for the library. So like, just depending how they wanted to paint the library, set up the library, what new books they wanted. And it was really cool just to see the feedback. But it was a lot of work, but it was all worth it. And I still talk to the guy from the Rotary Club just to get updates. And the Rotaract Club on campus is actually doing a book drive for them. So so we're creating those bonds too. And that's our semester at sea experience.
Beautiful.
Any questions? Here's the table full of fun souvenirs we got.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you have about these items?
Okay, well this one, Nicole has one too.
From where you got
This one was from Panama. It wasn't from the Indian village we went to. There's a lot of Indian villages around, but I don't remember the name of this specific tribe. But this cost $5, and same with this, they say that the cost of it is basically how long it took them, like each day, so $1 per day, and this was like based off someone's dream. So
I just got this one at the mall, so it was a rip-off. They charged me $2.50 because they couldn't find one.
And then we have my bag from Panama. Nicole makes fun of it because you can tell it's handmade, but that's what I love about it.
It's beautiful, yeah.
And it was $10, but it's a good bag and it's pretty.
So colorful, yeah.
And then we got this shirt from the Sloth Sanctuary. We went there in Costa Rica, which was really cute. And Buttercup's the original sloth. And then llamas, we got them from Ecuador.
Did they spit on you too? Because the spit. Did you see the llama? They have a kind of saliva, which is really dirty. Did you experience that?
Yes.
You did?
Yes. And then this is my favorite. These are my rosary beads from Peru, and they smell like roses. And it's because the patron saint of Peru is Saint Rosa de Lima, and she, since her name is Rose, they smell of roses. And I got to go to her house of where she lived and stuff, and that's what I got there. And the smell has lasted very long, so Nicole can take it away.
I kind of have a lot of miscellaneous stuff. I have a lot of the currencies. Even in Ecuador or Panama, where they did use American money, they had their own change. So I think this is Panama. Yeah. No, this is Ecuador. So they did have their own change. Yeah. And then I got these were from Ecuador. They did a lot of with basket weaving, I guess. I don't know what to say.
That's the same stuff the Panama hats are made out of.
Mm-hmm.
Panama hats are made in Ecuador, not Panama.
In Monte Cristi is a factory.
Yes.
And they'll make it for you like right in front of you if you want it.
Yeah, because Carlos, the guy that we went with, he wanted a yarmulke because he's Jewish. And so he's running around trying to find a yarmulke, and nobody knew what he was talking about. He goes, it's like the thing the Pope wears. And then he gave him one.
I also got like a bracelet in each country. 2 of them I wore too much, so I don't know where they are anymore. This is from the Indian village. This is from Ecuador. This one's from Costa Rica. It says Pura Vida. It was like the only bracelet I could find. That's like, Pura Vida is like pure life. It's kind of one of their sayings, like, I don't know, like everything's, and it transfers to perfect, but it's just one of their sayings, like, how's it going? And they'll say Pura Vida. Like, this is also from Costa Rica. It's one of those like fog things that makes a sound. I got hot sauce in Belize because apparently it's like one of the best hot sauces.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it. I don't like hot sauce.
It's pretty intense.
What are the things from Mexico? What are the hot sauce?
I haven't tried the hot sauce from Mexico.
And then this is my alpaca from Peru. I got him at the Indian village. I'm like obsessed with him. And then this is my llama. I got him at like a random souvenir shop, so it was overpriced because it's for Americans. And then, but they're still cute. I believe they're like llama fur and whatever. Don't judge me. And this is handmade in Panama. Yeah, it was from the Indian village. And then this is the blue-footed booby that we saw in Monte Cristi.
We ran around to make sure we got that.
Yeah, like
they were like, we're leaving, and we're like, no, you're not.
And this is, I think, my favorite story. I was going to include it. I got it. There was like a street guy who wasn't even a vendor. He was just walking around selling shirts. And like there, everyone has an authentic like jersey. So you fit in right with the locals by wearing like the fake jerseys. But it was $10. He's like, $10. I was like, you know what? Like, I'll pay $10. I don't care. But I was like, I'm gonna get a deal. Like, I'm gonna bargain with this guy. I'm gonna get it at the best price ever, and everyone's gonna be so proud. So I was like, $6. He's like, no. Like, he didn't even like think about it, give me a counter offer. He was just like, no. And I was like, fine, $8. And he's like handing Allie a shirt, and I was like, we're all just like so confused, like what's going on? And so he's like, $8. I was like, fine, I'll pay $8. And I ended up only having $7. So I was like, 7? I have 7, and he's like, fine, take it. But like I get on the ship and everyone's like, I paid $4 for that shirt. And like I was like, are you kidding me? Like he's like, the guy told me it was $5, but I still love it.
And the maracas.
Yep.
And this thing, these are popular.
Yeah, it's made out of a cocoa nut, but it's not a coconut. Like it's some weird nut.
If you want to come take a look or whatever, feel free.
I think there's people outside.
Yeah, it's back down.
Oh.
So, if you have any questions regarding semester at sea in general, or just our trips in general, feel free to ask us anytime, because we promote semester at sea quite a bit.
They have 3 trips a year. They no longer have the 26 short day voyage. They no longer have the short-term voyage because they considered it unsuccessful because they only got about 200 students, and there are normally about 700 on the ship. 5 to 700. And they have the Around the World, which is usually spring. It's 106 days. It starts in California and it goes to like Asia, back to down to South America, and like this one ends in Barcelona, but sometimes they start in the Bahamas and go to like Brazil, go to South Africa and Asia. The fall, the one going on now, is Europe and Asia, Africa, and the summer is usually Northern Africa, so they don't hit South Africa, they hit like Ghana and Morocco and Europe, so they'll hit like random countries in Europe. And I know like this fall is going to Russia, which is kind of exciting because they usually don't go to Russia, or it's next fall.
How long does it usually take?
106 days for the, it's about 100 and some, like 105, 107 for the spring and fall for the full semesters, where you take 12 credits, and it's 60 days for the summer where you get 9 credits.
And ours was only 26 days because it was a short term, and we got 4 credits.
Yeah. Now with the credits, can you choose what you, is
Yeah.
there choices?
Yeah,
What you need like for your, studies,
Well,
what you can
For
do?
me, like I just took whatever interested me the most. So.
And for the full, they do have, I think they have about 60 classes, and they try to, they have religion, they have business, they have a lot of engineering. They try to get it. Sometimes, like I think 1/3 of the classes are lower, and 2/3 are above upper level, so 300 or 400, and as well, like 1/3 of the classes are special to the voyage. So like I know, like on the voyage I want to do, you can take Goddess Tradition. So like that's not a class you're going to be able to take in other countries.
Yes.
So, but I also like. Instead, I'm taking international management and organizational behavior, which I need for my major anyway. So they transfer fine.
And they transfer fine into St. Leo then?
Well, the problem is we are not St. Leo. They are not a sister school of St. Leo at the moment. And Paige said she was going to try to do that, which would open up a lot more doors and it would make it a lot more accessible for students to go.
I like what you said before, though, because that fits in our field so good in social work. Nobody wants something like a handout. People really want, there must be a purpose behind, and they want to feel needed, right?
Yeah, and the problem, like for the $100 solution, when it was started, they ran into a lot of problems. Like there was a time when they went to Africa and they put ceiling fans in Africa. But the problem with that is who's going to pay the electricity bill?
Yeah, yeah.
So when you decide you're going to do the $100 solution, you have to think it through all the way.
Exactly.
And it doesn't just they do it too, like in America too. They'll go like just to like the homeless shelters and do the $100 solution there and stuff. But it was really cool, and I enjoyed it. So.
You're so true. This is so true. You have to think it completely through, and not just for the sake of you doing something. Yeah. And then you leave, and then they have nothing of it.
Exactly.
And like I know another thing was like the whole trip kind of focused on like I guess you don't realize how bad everything is in the world. I mean I would when we had to guess how many people were living under $2 a day, I was like 25%. That's high. And when he said 3.5 billion, like that's half the world are living in extreme poverty. Like how I don't know, and I feel like you open your eyes not only to what's wrong with the world, but ways that people have helped and ways that you can help. And I know like one of the things that was pushed, at least in my class, was microfinancing, where it's putting funds in areas where they have no access to money. Like there's another trap we learned about, it was just the trap of being poor. Just being poor, you don't have resources, you don't have anything, and sometimes it's not your choice to be poor, it's because your whole situation around you, there's no way out. And this allows like people to get loans that have no collateral, and it started off as a $100 loan and now it's progressed, but the $100 loans make a difference. And when they did it in 2006, they had $100. And they took a group of women. This is the person that started microlending. He was a professor in like Iran, and he had his students go out and ask, how much money do you need to get yourself out of poverty? And they found people said $100. Not much, something that anyone can afford to give. And he found he's like, okay, he got 12 women, he put $100 in the pot. He's like, I am not putting any more money in. If you do not pay your loan, the rest of the people suffer. And he found that the loan was paid back quicker than regular loans are paid back. And all the people in the thing were better off at the end. So, and there are ways to loan money to people. Like we learned about Kiva, which was actually started by a semester at sea alumni.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Fantastic. Interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.